We're continuing the project tasky. Last time we did a droppable. Now today we're going to work on draggable, and hopefully it should be able to move when we're done. So to do the draggable, let's work on the components we want to be dragged around, and that is where this comes in. So right around the tax card, where we have the tax card, let's put in our droppable. So basically, I'm just going to come here and say droppable. Right. Open and close that in. Well, let's not rush it because we now have to create a function, an arrow function. Remember, I told you last time that you don't pass in plain components like that. They have to come like an arrow or a function kind of component, functional component, literally. All right, so I'll move the key upward. Move the key upward. And this should be draggable, not droppable, please. My bad. All right. So pardon me on that. This is draggable, not droppable. All right. Yep. So just so you know, every draggable component must always be inside a droppable, and draggable and droppable must always be in a drag context, drag drop context. Just very important for you to know that. All right, now let's get to it. The draggable takes in, if it's in a map like this, it takes in the key just because of the map. It also takes in draggable ID, which we're going to say should be the item dot ID. Now, when we come here, we're going to pass in a provided prop, provided, and what provided is going to pass in here is that we're going to get all the provided dot draggable props. All right, that's the first thing we're going to get. Then also we're going to get all the provided dot drag handle props. So what handles the dragging? And then of course we're going to have the ref, which is equal to provided dot inner ref. Let me save this so it's kind of formats properly. Then of course at the end of this, before the div, right here, yeah, right here, we just pass in curly braces, provided dot placeholder. Okay, yeah, draggable doesn't need placeholder. It's just droppable that needs that. Yep. Nice. So let's check it out. I hope this works. Yeah, it works. It works. But basically, if I drag this up, what you're going to notice is that it goes back to wherever it came from. All right. But so far, at least it moves. It adjusts. All right. It moves and it adjusts. You can drag that on any group and any set. And also you're going to notice that if I clear this, you're going to notice that all right, something is on rapid fire here. So let's just try to debug that. So looking at these drag handle props, draggable ID, droppable props. Yeah, that's because we missed something called index. So every draggable must have something called index. Please take note of that, index. And the index is basically, also has to be unique. All right, so in this case, the index can be index. Anyways, the index can be index. It's just basically the position of each draggable item in a droppable group. So think if you drag this now, you see it behaves more properly. So, but it still goes back anyway. But you can now see that it kind of gives space, like while I'm moving it, gives space. Same thing here, give space. All right. You can also take it to other areas. Yep. The reason why you can take it to other areas is because all these items here are droppable. All these yellow divs right here are all droppable components. If I create an additional component by the side that it isn't droppable, you find out that it won't be able to go there. All right. So if I do that, we find out that we won't be able to go there. So basically, what we just want to do right now, I just want to show you each time. You see, we have here something moved. You can see right here. Whenever we drag, if I clear this now and I drag, you see it always says something moved. So it's monitoring what's actually happening. So just before we move on to the next video where we're going to have like the functionality, that's literally what that video is going to be about, the functionality. Let's just take a look at something. So look at this on drag end. Let's look at what actually comes out. What actually comes out from this. So let's take a look at the event. So something moved, comma E. Now let's go and take a look at it. So now I'm going to take Curry and I'm going to take it to Pepper's position. And just look at that. Now I moved it, although it went back to where it came from because we have not given any functionality to handle that. But basically what happens here is that if I open this, you see that we have combine, null, we have destination. Now destination is literally, so this is just going to help us so that we don't spend much time explaining in the next video. Destination is where did you drag it to? The source is where were you dragging it from? So where did it come from? Where did you start dragging it from? Destination is where did you end up dropping it? All right. And then every other thing there, you can see the draggable ID, that's the component that was dragged. And then the droppable ID. In destination, we have droppable ID and index. Source, we have the droppable ID and also the index. So a good way to do that is look at Curry is index 0 and rice is index 3 because it's in the 4th position. So I'm going to move Curry all the way down to rice. So I'm going to drag Curry all the way down to rice. All right. Now look at what we are going to have here. The source is going to be index 0, which is where it came from. It was in the 1st position, index 0. And the destination source was index 3, which is where we pulled it from, which is where we pulled it to. All right. Then the droppable ID, you can see that they are the same. Why? Because we moved it between the same group. Just to take you a bit ahead of yourself, I'm going to take Curry to the last list, which is list bot. Now you will notice that the droppable ID is different. All right, it's different. And it's basically these IDs that we have here, the IDs that we have here. But if you're good with React already or something like that, or critical reasoning, you would have already understood how the functionality is going to work, even if you don't know how to implement it yet. All right, so just before we go, I told you I was going to tell you why we had this provided placeholder. The reason we had this provided placeholder is that it helps in this shifting we have here. What it does is that when you pull a component, when you pull a draggable component, it holds that space. It holds that space without like filling it up yet. So when I'm going to a new position, it still keeps that space available for me. Let me just show you what it's going to look like if that provided placeholder is not there. So if the provided placeholder is not there, if I drag this component out, you can see that our list is misbehaving already. You can see instead of remaining at the current height, it has already gone to a height shorter than the current height. Why? Because it believes that the query that I'm currently holding is no longer in the list. I hope that makes sense to you. So why the placeholder is there, why the query has not yet been dropped, that height is not going to change because it still believes that it's still on the list. See you guys in the next video. My name is DevChooks.